Joining us right now on the Mattress Warehouse Hotline is Jason Hare. He is the director of The Last Dance, which is the highly anticipated ESPN docuseries covering the Bulls' last championship run. Thanks a lot for joining us, Jason.
Happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
You know, Jason, just reading about this, we're all fired up for this, especially in this time when there's no sports, but I was most amazed that it's 10,000 hours of coverage that you went through.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you and say I sat there and watched 10,000 hours straight. I'd be pretty exhausted. But we had in our system we had 10,000 hours of footage, and that goes back to full games that Phil Jackson was playing for the New York Knicks. That goes because this is not just about Michael and that 97 and 98 season. This is about the entire dynasty and all of the games that they played. It's about Steve Kerr. It's about Dennis Rodman. It's about Scottie Pippen. It's about Phil Jackson. It's about Tony Kukoc. So all of that footage, I credit my team and our producers for gathering footage from literally every corner of the globe. So, yeah, we did have 10,000 hours at our disposal, and we whittled that down to 10 hours for you guys.
So, Jason, how stressful was it for you and everybody involved when ESPN said, you know what, we're not going to wait till June for this. We wanted to roll it out on April 19th, obviously because everybody's home, the coronavirus. Talk about how that expedited everything for you and everybody involved with the project.
It was exciting. I mean, I think all of us in this business like to be backed into a corner and have a deadline. And this thing has stretched on and on and on for years. So it was exciting not only to have, a clear finish line be moved up like that, but also to have the opportunity with the absence of programming and especially the absence of sports programming and sports in general. I'm a firm believer. That's why I've done so many sports documentaries, that sports is what connects us. It's what we agree on. It's what we disagree on. It connects us in so many ways, and we're lacking that. We're lacking a connection everywhere right now, but especially lacking that connection in sports. Even to discuss things that just happened, there is nothing happening to discuss at this point. So hopefully, we can show a couple of hours of new stuff on Sunday night and distract people, give people a little bit of an escape so that they can all discuss that on Monday morning instead of whatever game happened the night before.
Yeah, I can't wait. I wanted to ask you, Jason, give us an idea of how many people you interviewed for the project, all right, for the 10 episodes, and then what percentage of people turned down your interview request, if any?
We interviewed 106 people for the doc, and no one turned it down outright. The only time we didn't interview someone that we reached out to was due to logistical concerns.
Okay.
Someone's filming a movie on the other side of the planet, or we happen to be in Seattle on a day that someone's not in Seattle. But I'm happy to report that every single story that we wanted to tell, we told. And every person I wanted telling that story, we got to sit down and tell the story. So we have everyone we want. We didn't get any no's from anybody that we needed. And we're still putting this together. We're not done with the series, but we're done with episodes 1 and 2 at least, so we can show that to you. But we're going to be racing every week to catch up to what people are expecting to see on Sunday night.
All right, I want to ask you about MJ. So I think all of us here are huge MJ fans. I mean, how could you not be? But we're also aware of his personality and the reputation, difficult teammate, that sort of thing. And, of course, you know that there's been some publicity lately that Michael's been a little concerned about, how he's being portrayed here and that people aren't going to like him. And I'm wondering, how was he to work with? And is this kind of a self-realization thing? Because I knew he was difficult. I knew he was kind of a jerk. Tiger's that way too, but I still love Tiger. How was Michael to work with, and is this something that is just sort of dawning on him, or is he truly not happy with the way he was portrayed?
He was great to work with from the outset, and I'm not, I don't want people to think I'm just offering platitudes, because there's plenty of high-profile athletes who are not great to work with. But I was pleasantly surprised at how down-to-earth and how cooperative and how involved and engaged he was in this process from the very beginning. From September 2017, when I first met him, he has been aware of everything we were doing and a contributor to it. I'm happy to report that he never once, even though he had the power to do this, he never once wielded the power and said, you're not going to include this, or you can't discuss this, or I want you to take this out because it doesn't make me look good. He did offer notes, but those were only to enhance the shows. So he would offer notes on things. I studied for 2 years on this topic, and he would offer notes on things that it didn't even occur to me. You should include this game in this moment because that's when I knew that I could do this. Little things that only Michael Jordan could know, he was adding to us to enhance the quality of this dog. So I was over the moon about that because I was a cynic and I was expecting him to be aloof, and he was the opposite. As far as his personality, he is demanding of himself, and he demands that much of those around him. And if that's in a corporate world, it's the same. And if it's in a production world, it's the same with us. And it certainly was the same within the locker room on the Bulls. So the reputation that he has as being this maniacal competitor and win at all costs, that is true. He is a maniacal competitor. And the teammates that we talked to acknowledge that, and Michael himself acknowledges that. I don't think it just dawned on him. I think he knew that when he was 10 years old, when he was competing with his brothers in the backyard, that he was maniacal about beating them the same way that he was maniacal about beating Magic Johnson and Clyde Drexler and Reggie Miller. But I think that just by how vocal he was about it, I think that he was eager to explain the roots of that and to explain his lack of regret in acting that way. He's a firm believer that you can't control what people think about you. You can only control your actions and what you say. Mm-hmm. And he knew that he needed to act that way and needed to say some things that were hard to hear as teammates to bring out the best in them. Scotty Burrell, he thought was a great guy. He said, I love Scotty Burrell. He still hosts Scotty Burrell every summer at his house, and they golf together. They're still good friends to this day. But at the time, he felt Scotty was soft. And he knew that a soft guy was not going to deliver for him and the Bulls against the Heat and the Pacers and the Knicks of the 90s Eastern Conference. He needed to toughen Scotty up. So he was very tough on Scotty in practice, and we have footage of that. We asked him about it. He explains it. We asked Scotty Burrell about it. He explains what it felt like. But everybody at the end of the day agrees that it had to happen that way, and they wouldn't change a thing because they had the rings on their fingers to prove it.
Now, it's the last dance because before the season, Jerry Krause had basically, or you just knew that it was going to be the last season, right? Because there was a dispute there between Jerry Krause, the general manager, and Phil Jackson, who just a couple years later then was winning championships with the Lakers. Talk about why it is that last dance. I guess that's basically what it is.
Yeah, Jerry and Phil went back decades. Jerry scouted Phil when he was playing college ball in North Dakota, and Jerry was a scout for the Washington Bullets. So he knew him forever, and he saw something in Phil that he thought could make a good pro coach. When Phil was about to leave basketball entirely after he retired, he tried to coach. He coached in the CBA. He won a title with the Albany Patroons, but he couldn't get any traction in the NBA because he was just such a free spirit and such a different guy, especially back in the 80s when you show up to a meeting with Red Auerbach in a safari hat and a Hawaiian shirt, you're going to get laughed out of the room. And Phil is his own man and always has been. But Jerry recognized something in Phil that I don't even know if Phil recognized it himself. And he kind of saved his coaching career. And then Phil delivered 6 titles for Jerry. And I think the both of them thought, hey, I did this for you. They both thought, you owe me a debt of gratitude. So that came to a head in the offseason before the 97-98 season when Jerry Krause told Phil Jackson in no uncertain terms, quote, you could go 82-0 and you're not coming back next year to coach this team. Michael had been very vocal about the fact that he's not playing for any coach but Phil. So when you tell Phil Jackson that, you're essentially telling Michael Jordan, you're out too. And when you tell Michael and Phil you're out, then you're saying to the whole team, we're cleaning house. So It was very evident from the first day of training camp that this was going to be the last dance.
I mean, I can't wait. How many different spots or cities did you interview Michael in?
One. We interviewed him within 10 minutes of his home. He's a private guy. He's got so many eyeballs on him everywhere he goes that he's got certain sanctuaries, and his own home is one of those. So we agreed that we would give him the privacy of not shooting in his own home, but we shot at homes near his home 3 times, June of 2018, May of 2019, and December of 2019. So it was 8 hours over the course of 3 interviews over the course of a year and a half.
That's interesting. What was the one thing that you kind of took away from, and I assume you interviewed Rodman, you took away from that relationship, Michael and Dennis?
Michael called Dennis the smartest player I've ever played with. And I was stunned when I first heard him say that. And when I told Dennis that, he got choked up because Dennis admires Michael so much. Dennis is a free spirit himself, and he's got more in common with Phil Jackson than he does with Michael Jordan, but he clearly reveres Michael. So when I told Dennis that, he was kind of taken aback. They had a professional relationship. These guys were not hanging out doing kamikaze shots with Carmelo Electra at the same club in Vegas. They barely interacted off the court. But on the court, Michael was acutely aware that Dennis was the missing piece that they needed to replace Horace Grant for that second three-peat run. And everyone on that team embraced him. Dennis had a different set of rules than everybody else. Make no mistake. Steve Kerr could not just take a self-imposed vacation in the middle of a championship run the way that Dennis did. Scottie Pippen would not go to wrestle after Game 3 of the NBA Finals. He would not miss practice to go wrestle in the WCW with Hulk Hogan the way that Dennis did.
Unreal.
But the entire team knew that Dennis was a different guy and he needed a different set of rules, and they were all, credit all of them with being professional enough not to resent that there was a different set of rules. Phil and Michael made it very clear this guy's going to do his own thing, but all we care about is him delivering on the court, and he did that night after night.
All right, we know you got a break. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Looking forward to it, Jay.
Jason Hare, who's the documentarian.
Did you hang up on him
for
that
The Last
quickly?
Dance.
He's busy. He's
No.
probably doing
He probably
100
did.
interviews
He did.
today.
He did.
He had
Wow.
another interview.
Yeah.
That is going to get some killer ratings. So
Yeah.
he did confirm a question we had yesterday whether the individual episodes, they're showing episodes 1 and 2, were a half hour or an hour. He says they're all an hour. So we're going to get
Right.
2 hours of this on Sunday night.